Hello everyone, I'm Rich Lamont. Welcome back to the channel. If this is your first time here, welcome. I started this channel to share my love of salmon flies and fly tying. I cover everything from spay flies to salmon flies to artistic flies. I cover techniques. All my flies are step by step, so that way you can follow along. I try to give as much detail and specifics as I can throughout the whole process. That way it's much easier to understand, but you can also try out certain techniques and see certain things that I do. If there's anything that you ever need to know, or you have a specific question, by all means, shoot me a message. I'd be happy to make a video about it. Mondays, I'll be doing material reviews, everything from all the different pheasants that we use to different hooks, different threads and silks, tinsels, and more things that are used in salmon flies. So if you guys enjoy the channel and you like a specific video, by all means, please hit the thumbs up button. If you're not subscribed, think about subscribing. That helps out the channel, that helps me out. And leave your notification bell on. That'll let you know when I post a new video, and you'll be able to follow along before anybody else. So with that being said, hope you guys enjoy this video. Let's get on with it. Alright, so here we are over at the vise. As you can see, I've already completed attaching the gut and doing a bit of an underbody. If you haven't seen my videos on how to do an underbody, I do have one. I'll leave the link for it in the description below. And you can check that out, and that describes, how to do it and the type of material I use for my underbodies. Today's hook, I am actually using a Lars Møller custom handmade hook. This one is about a 7.0. Another lovely hook. I really do enjoy Lars hooks. They're a much heavier wire, so they're more stout. They really leave more of a presence. They're also a very tough hook, so if you wanted to fish with them, they are strong enough to hold up to some larger fish. So, like I said, we're doing a Christmas fly for a dear friend of mine who is also a Santa Claus. One of the best Santas that I've ever seen, actually. And one heck of a nice guy. So, Santa, this one's for you. We are starting off with some Vivis 12.0 black thread. And I'm using my Anadromous bobbins. This is one of their bullet bobbins. They come in a variety of different colors. So we're also using a small Vivis tinsel. Here is the top of the spool with the model number on it, if you're interested. And I've tied that in underneath the underbody so that way you don't wind up with a major lump under there. You can still kind of see it right here, but tying it in underneath the underbody is really a better option than doing your underbody and then tying it in. Kind of hides it a little bit better. Alright, so we are going to start with a few turns. I'm going to go 4 turns on this, kind of give it a little bit more presence. Now I actually am going to be using more of this small tinsel as a ribbing for this tag, but you don't want to leave it in there. I've tried that before, and leaving it in there like this instead of clipping it and then retying it in, you'll wind up leaving a strange looking gap right here when you do your floss. So we're going to run this back up the body. Now running it up the body like this underneath here kind of keeps that body nice and even and smoothed out. If you wind up clipping it off back at the tip, you could wind up leaving a strange lump there. Now I'm going all the way up this far because that's, I don't know if you noticed, you can rewind actually, and you can go back and you can see you'll see where the gut ends. You'll see it's thicker, 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 and then right in through here, there's a little spot where there's an indentation and the gut ends there. This will kind of help close that, and that'll help fill in that little indentation. And then we can go back. Actually, I'll try to keep this a little bit smoother. And what we'll do is we'll tie in our tinsel up here and then wrap back over it. And that will help ensure that you have a nice smooth tag when you go to wrap your tinsel. I'm sorry, wrap your floss rather. As you can see, the body on this is going to be rather thick, and that's okay. This is a Christmas fly, and I want it to have a little bit more of a thicker presence. And I went a little bit too far. I don't want the tag to be that big. Alright, so the tag that I'm doing here is going to be some red floss. Again, this is like I use this is Japanese silk. I believe this is Kyoto, Kyoto. You can find this right on Etsy. I think it's like 55 or 60 bucks for 30 spools, so it's really not that bad at all as far as pricing. And once you pull it off of the spool, you want to go through and make sure that you gently pull out any loose or excess fibers. You just take it, and I don't know if that's showing, but there's some loose fibers right there, so you can just take it and pull them through. And just very gently pull it down through like so. And that should straighten it out nicely and get you ready to wrap it in. What I like about this silk is it's nice and flat. Makes it quite easy to wrap. And it's relatively resilient as well. What did I do here? Okay. Burnisher. Burnish that out real quick, and that'll smooth it out and make it look real nice. And we can go ahead and wrap the tinsel. Now there's going to be a butt right there, so clipping this piece of tinsel off right here would be okay. As long as you clip it off within, maybe a millimeter or two of the tie off, it should be fine. Now we're going to burnish this again, and what that'll do is help kind of settle this ribbing into the floss. Make it a little bit smoother, and that'll be a little bit better when we go to put in the tail. Now, the tail is nothing fancy, it's just some black turkey. I chose black turkey because, well, Santa's boots are black. I thought that would kind of just add a little bit of personalization to it. So we'll just do a loose wrap. Hold both sides like so, and just very gently help it collapse. Not an actual collapse, of course, but we're just helping it kind of fold down. That is a little bit of a fold on the back side, which we don't really want. And these first couple of wraps are nice and loose. They're just enough to let that bobbin be the weight that gets put on the wing. There we go. All right, now we're going to go ahead and cut the excess off of here very gently. And be very careful not to cut all the way through to your thread. And when it's hanging off like this, if there's even one fiber that's connected still, and you pull on it, you could wind up taking that fiber and that'll actually pull right through, which will destroy your tail. Okay. So now for the butt, I'm going to use black ostrich herl. Now once you've selected your piece off the plume, I like to take just a little bit off of the base and make sure you tie it on fuzzy side up and tie it right flat to it. This is also a good time to start using some wax on your thread. Don't need a lot of it. Just enough. And what this will do is this will help prevent that ostrich curl from slipping. Now to wrap it, pull it forward, and you should be able to see the shiny part. The stem of it will be facing down, fuzzy side will be up, and you should be able to take that and turn it right straight vertical. And then go ahead and wrap tightly and make them touching. I'm just going to build up a little bit more there of thread. That'll just give me another wrap of the hurl. And I'll tie that off. And trim away the excess. Now you can wet your fingers just a little bit and kind of wet it down and push that hackle, those fibers back a bit. You can see right here there's a few little stragglers, so what we're going to do is just burn those off. Make sure they're not in our way. Okay. Now for tinsel. And other flosses. So this rear section here, we want it to be almost exactly half of the we want the rear section to be half of the body here. So, or almost half of the body. Take a pen and well, I don't quite have a tape measure handy right this second, so I'll use this gauge, which has a ruler right on it. Okay, so that's 2.5, 2.5/8. Okay, so yeah, we'll go right about here. That looks good. So the tinsel I want to put on this, I think I want to use gold embossed tinsel. And for this I am using Uni-French. It's really the only embossed tinsel that I'm able to find. I don't see that Vivis makes one or Lagarden. At least not that I found. If anybody has a link to that or has any ideas, please leave a comment or reach out to me and let me know. I do like the Uni-French embossed, but I'm very partial to Vivis. So to tie this one in, we're going to tie this down on the quartering away side of the hook. Being careful, of course, not to cut your thread. Then I'm going to have some large gold Vivis oval tinsel. There's the model number for you. And what we'll do is just strip away one of the ends and expose that softer core. That'll make our tie-in not so lumpy. Let's trim this part away. Make sure that when you're cutting tinsel, use a pair of scissors that you don't like. I don't dare use my Anadromous scissors on this. I like those too much. So this, the gold tinsel we're going to tie on the back side. Well, it'll be the front side when you tie it in, but when you wrap it, it'll wrap to the back side. It'll be on the trailing edge of that tinsel. And then we're going to have some silver tinsel on the front edge, on the leading edge. Actually, I think what I'm going to do is let's put some, I'm going to put some dark green in there. And then we'll have the silver border that. Not sure how that's going to look. I'm hoping this doesn't look too Italian. No offense to Italy, but this is a Christmas fly. I want it to look more Christmassy than either Italian or, like a flag. Which is my concern with the wings. If any of you have seen the short that I created, it showed the wings, and they almost have a U.S. flag look to them, but I'm hoping it looks more like a candy cane. So, for the moment, we're going to grab, here's what it looks like without the wrapper. Again, this is Kyoto Japanese silk. This flattens out very, very nicely, so it'll give a nice little ribbing. And we'll tie that right here in front. And then we'll put the silver trailing that. So again, I'm just going to strip away some of that outer sheathing on this silver. And this is also Vivus, old tinsel. We'll wrap that and we'll tie that in right there. And then just very gently, slowly tie these down. And we'll go all the way up to that black mark. Okay. Body on this is going to be red silk floss. Rocky, quiet. No. No. There's no one here. Stop. Just putting that green floss away. And we're going to go back to that same red floss spool that we had before. And again, you just want to make sure you straighten it out. Usually I would put this onto a bobbin spool, but I don't have a spare bobbin spool at the moment. So, I'll just wrap this by hand. Go ahead and tie that in. Get that bobbin right up out of the way. And then just gently and slowly start wrapping. Unless, of course, you get caught up on the barb of the hook. Okay. I have too many things that are in my way here. I'm just caught up on everything. Yep, I don't have the room to do it this way. I'm going to have to empty a spool of some kind that's just got a little bit of floss on it or something. I'll be right back with you guys. Sorry about this. Alright, so I've got this just enough spooled up on here. This is an Anadromous midge bobbin. The only bobbin I've got left that's available. The rest are all full of stuff right now. So what we'll do then, we'll have to get this other bobbin out of the way, so we'll treat it like we're tying in another thread. And we'll just go right over that black thread. And then we'll cut that black thread away for the moment. And then we are free to wrap our floss. And there's this rocking motion here that I'm doing. That just helps flatten it out a little bit more. And we just go on back. Any places that you notice some high spots or low spots, you can get some floss, extra floss into those places. Okay, I always like to go a little bit farther forward from the spot that I tied in. That way when you go to tie it off and then start adding other materials, everything just blends in a little bit better that way. Okay. Next we'll take a burnisher. I'll burnish this one out. You don't have to press hard when you're burnishing, just let the weight of the burnisher do the work. Okay, next we will wrap the gold embossed first. I'm doing kind of wide wraps since there's going to be plenty of other material being wrapped on here as well. Just snip off some of it. We'll leave a little bit there just in case we have to go back. Let's snip off enough so it's not in the way. And the gold oval will be spaced just a little bit away from it. Right on that trailing edge. Tie that up and then we'll clip it just the same. And it came loose just a bit. Okay. Now we'll take the green. If I can unwrap it from the vise, it's here we go. trim away the excess. And then I want to wrap this silver actually touching the green. And now I'm going to back off on quite a few of these. Shorten the silver so it's not in the way. And I'm backing off on these so that way I can tie them all in kind of together. That just reduces bulk right around this tie-off spot. Kind of like this. Right here, though, there's a small fray in the gold tinsel. Okay. Now we can clip away all the excess here. Alright, so now a next set of wings here. I haven't decided how long I want to tie these in yet, but I'll figure that out right now. I just trimmed off the excess here that is clearly going to be far too long. Let's see how far the main wing goes first. Then we can kind of judge where we want to tie in the shorter set of wings from here, the middle set. That'll be about as long as I'd be able to tie it in. The Amherst on the other side ends right here. So this would be about as far as I can go with that one. The rear wing seems to be thicker than the front wing, but they have the same amount of fibers. Oh, shoot. Alright, I just had a small failure. The Amherst on the backside just came undone, so I'm going to have to redo that. Just a second. Alright, I think I've got it now. I think we'll tie it in right there. That looks pretty good. And very gently, just make a loop over the top. And just very gently help it settle. Nope. Nope, that collapsed too much. This Amherst does not want to stay on here this time. Bear with me, folks. I just need to tame this Amherst a little bit. One thing about Amherst, it's not quite easy to work with. Okay. Might have to pull the Amherst off a little bit. The bottom part of the wings may not get may not get Amherst. Well, as it goes with Amherst, it's not always easy to deal with. So I wound up switching it out. And I'm using Argus Centertail, which kind of has more of a I don't know, snowflake or starry look to it, I guess. Let's try to tie that in, see how that goes. Trim those off. Now the Argus could present its own issue. It may not, but it could. Being that Argus is a bit of a thicker and stiffer material than the turkey. And having that thicker, stiffer material on top could cause an issue. Here we go, that's a little better. Yeah, I like that. Now for the underside, we'll do the same. Okay. That'll look about right. All right. That's way too big. Oh, yes, far too big. I'd like to put Amherst there as kind of a cheek, but I think it's going to be too large. Let's see. Be much smaller. I also don't like this fold right here. Better, but still there. That's much better. Well, my idea for a veiling or cheek right there might have to be put to the wayside. Yeah, I think I'm going to pass on it and, wait a minute here. No, I'm going to cover up too much of that tinsel in the body work. I think I'm just going to leave it, and we'll just go ahead with the next section. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and cut off the excess wing material here. Okay, now we're just going to use some wax. And now the ostrich trail that I'm going to use is white ostrich trail. I get most of my ostrich trail from John McClain over at feathersmc.com. I've mentioned him in my videos. I'll leave that also in the video description. But yeah, John has really great materials, and he's always been very good at selecting the proper stuff for everyone. So I highly recommend going over there for just about any of your salmon fly needs. Some stuff he doesn't have at the moment, and some stuff he just has a hard time finding, but he does have a good supply of feathers. Alright, so the same as before. We'll keep the fuzzy side facing up when we tie in. And pull forward, and then up. Okay, so now you'll notice that the rear body section has become quite thick. And right here is much thicker than it is here, so we'll have to add a little bit of underbody material here to thicken this up. And what we'll do is we'll just thicken it up from here and then taper it down to here. The reason we taper it is so that when we get to the head, it's not a massive head and it's much easier to work with. It's going to be pretty big anyway, tying in